Banja Luka is a picturesque city in the western part of Bosnia and Herzegovina. It is the administrative capital and the largest city of Republika Srpska and the second largest city in Bosnia-Herzegovina. It is a real gem of weekend tourism. Less than an hour from Belgrade, Serbia, you can find one of the most charming towns in the Balkans. Banja Luka captivates its visitors with its architecture, history, and gourmet cuisine. It is the home of the local kebabs, the scene of a Balkan story of Romeo and Juliet, and a place where the cultures of the East and the West intertwine. This city is becoming an increasingly popular destination for tourists who want to see a variety of attractions in a few days and spend quality time in a town that is both urban and offers a gateway to one of the most beautiful green oases in this part of Europe. Banja Luka is the capital of the autonomous Republika Srpska or Bosnian Serb Republic. It is a handsome city with layers of Illyrian, Slavic, Ottoman, and Austro-Hungarian history. Banja Luka sits at the confluence of the Varbas and Varbanja rivers in northwestern and it is an open city of parks, wide boulevards, and stately architecture. Located close to the border with Croatia, Banja Luka is closely and it is easily reached from Zagreb or northern Serbia by bus. I took a bus from Zagreb, Croatia to Banja Luka. Now I want to discuss about the famous tourist attraction in Banja Luka. Let's start with the Castle Fortress. The Castle Fortress is located in Banja Luka and it is medieval but is situated on the site of previous fortifications going all the way back to Roman and even pre-Roman times. It was captured by the Ottoman Empire in 1527. The fortress is relatively well preserved and is one of Banja Luka's main attractions, situated on the left bank of the Varbas River in the very center of the town. Legend has it that Castle Fortress once guarded as a Roman settlement known as Castra. Imagine standing amidst the same walls that once shielded the Romans from fierce barbarian invaders. Archaeological evidence such as Roman ceramics, coins, and structures adds authenticity to the tales of a bygone era. And if you're feeling adventurous, keep an eye out for the ancient sacrificial altar dedicated to the mighty god Jupiter, which was uncovered during a bridge construction eons ago. Fast forward to the late 15th century, when the indomitable Ferhat Pasha Sokolovic held the reins of power during the Ottoman rule, he envisioned an impregnable fortress, and the intensive construction of castle began. What began as a fortified arsenal soon evolved into an awe-inspiring walled city, complete with towers and bastions that seemed to grow with each passing year. The fortress' strategic location at the confluence of the Herzegovina and Varbas rivers only added to its formidable aura. Castle Fortress, surrounded by two grand bridges, forming a fortified island embraced by the gentle flow of the Varbas River. Imposing stone walls protect the ancient secrets held within, while within the fortress itself you can still find remnants of a grand wooden residence that once overlooked the meandering Varbas River. Can you sense the echoes of history whispering in the air? A medieval castle set along the Varbas River's western banks, the Castle Fortress overlooks Banja Luka's old town from its stone-clad summit. While the present castle dates to the medieval period, its foundations are believed to date back to an older Roman settlement called Castra. a claim that is supported by archaeological finds from the area, flanked by a water body on either side, and connected by two bridges to the town. This was essentially a fortified island, which added to the castle's defensive strength. The strategic location of the fortress made it an important player in the Austro-Hungarian-Turkish wars of the 18th century. An unmissable site in Banja Luka and the pride of the city, Castle Fortress is steeped in history and stands strong to this day as an example of military engineering at its best. There is no precise information when the fortress castle was built, but the evidence was found suggesting that there was a prehistoric settlement here. Due to its location, Banja Luka has always been a target of many conquerors, and the Roman Empire was one of them. One of the main Roman trading routes, called the Salt Road, passed through the city. This road went all this way from the Adriatic coast, from Solin to Banja Luka, and then to Croatia, Serbia, and further. In order to protect this road, the Romans built many fortresses along the road and the river Barbas, and the biggest one is the fortress Castle. It is used to be called Castra. In a document from 1525, there is a statement suggesting that the name Banja Luka refers to the fortress called Castel Nostro Banja Luka. After Roman Empire collapsed, the city fell under Hungarian rule. Later on, the Ottoman Empire conquered the territory. During the Ottoman rule, the castle was upgraded with additional walls, towers, and underground tunnels, and it hasn't changed since. The most important upgrade happened from 1714 to 1716 based on the drawings of the famous French architect Vauban. After the Turks, the city was under Austro-Hungarian rule, and the fortress hasn't been upgraded, and it started to lose its military purpose. The last renovation was finished in 2016. The castle was and stayed the most important symbol of the stone heart of the city of Banja Luka. Gospodska. Every town worth its salt in this part of the world needs to have a main pedestrian drag, and Gospodska certainly fills their role in Banja Luka. Lined with shops on both sides and a heavy of multicolored umbrellas above, Gospodska, or Gentleman's Street, seems to be full of strollers from early in the morning until way into the evening. A number of small alleys just off from the street, as well with a variety of interesting cafes and shops lurking just around the corner. If you're after a spot of people watching surrounded by the region's most beautiful people, Gospodska is the place to go. The equally impressive Christ the Savior Orthodox Cathedral, no less grand than Ferdadia and with an equally compelling tale of destruction and rebirth, the Christ the Savior Cathedral on Targspersky Vladra is Banja Luka's main Serbian Orthodox temple and dominates the city's center. It was constructed in the 1920s using gorgeous red and yellow tinged travertine from Mesopotamia. Just a few years after being consecrated in 1939, in April 1941, the church was hit and damaged by a German bomber. The Croatian Revolutionary Movement then ordered it to be demolished by hand. The cathedral was reconstructed in the 1990s and reopened in 2009. When you visit today, you can see segments of original brickwork and fragments of white stone ornaments displayed in a row of pin at the front as if to say, "Don't forget." Another stunning religious building, the cathedral design features golden domes and intricate stonework Inside, vivid frescoes against an inky blue background decorate every inch of wall and ceiling. The Christ, the Savior Cathedral is open daily between 7 a.m. and 7 p.m. So this time I want to give you an honest review about Banja Luka. Honestly, it's my first time visiting this place. The people are so nice, so very friendly. I'm so lucky because I met a Filipina. Her name is Aven. She is married from a Bosnian local from Banja Luka. She met in a cruise ship. They have 2 children, and she invited me to her house. It was a nice experience meeting a Filipina in another country. And she brought me to different places in Banja Luka. So this one, their favorite game is chess. In Bosnia Herzegovina, the local currency is the convertible mark or KM, tied to the euro at a rate of 1 km to 0.5129 at the time of the press. And since I spent only, let's say 1 night and half day, I didn't have time to change money to their local currency. So I'm trying to buy some goods through euro, but they don't want to accept it. Instead, they are giving me. They give me banana and watermelon. That was a nice experience, showing their generosity and love for the tourists. How cheap is Banja Luka for tourists? Even though everything is getting more expensive nowadays, Bosnia, particularly Banja Luka, is still quite cheap comparing to the rest of Europe. Meal prices range from €1, let's say burik from the local bakery, it's €1, to €10. It's full meal in a fancy restaurant.
Are Presidential Palace?
Bosnia is an expensive place, nor it's a particularly cheap destination either. So, is Banja Luka worth visiting? If, like me, you're traveling from Zagreb towards Sarajevo or Mostar or Podgorica in Montenegro, I highly recommend a stopover in Banja Luka. It's nice introduction to the country and an interesting way to see how people live away from the tourist centers. Luckily, we have a small Filipino Serbian community in Banja Luka. Those were married to Bosnian locals.